Okay, anyway, so that means that Chanttelle Cannabis is census.
We acknowledge Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Cree, Dean, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis settlements and the Métis Nations of Alberta, Regions 2, 3, and 4 within the historical Northwest Métis homeland.
We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on or are visiting.
Good morning!
Good morning!
We are live on location, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lifted Mornings. We're so excited to have you here with us. We're a cannabis-friendly show. And let's get things started with the news.
Saskatchewan got lit this weekend, changing some rules over the long weekend. 17 years ago, they banned drinking at provincial parks from rowdy peeps and vandalism. Surprise, surprise, they stated.
But after looking at neighbors on both sides of them, they decided it was time to make some changes. So over the long weekend, they lifted the ban on drinking and cannabis. So you could smoke in your campsite without getting in trouble.
Which is really exciting that they included cannabis in their public consumption throughout the province for the weekend.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then up next, the Canadian federal government announced the ramp up of pressure on outstanding excise tax.
So they're adding more pressure to companies that are already struggling financially. So the CRA is raising the possibility of adding garnishment liens on plant property and equipment, as well as legal action to collect the outstanding debts.
Mm-hmm. And these debts have dramatically increased in recent years, industry-wide, overproduction, which is driving down prices, as well as high taxes on various levels.
Mm-hmm. So how many businesses are owing to the CRA for the excise taxes? Out of all of them, how many are there?
Two-thirds.
Two-thirds.
2 whole thirds.
2/3 of the cannabis industry has outstanding debts for the excise taxes. And of course, back in September 2022, which was the halfway point of the fiscal year for the federal government, it was 2/3 outstanding at that point. Now, they just finished their year in March.
So if they go paid, they send out the legal warning at first, like they do, but then, they're enforcing it, you guys.
So if a corporation fails to pay any duty or interest that's required under this act, the directors of the corporation will be required to pay the interest and are solidarily liable together with the corporation. So personally liable and corporation liable, which is wild.
It is.
You don't see that in any other industry.
George Smitherman, CEO of the CCC, the Cannabis Council of Canada, said the CRA is getting more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Extra aggressive. And to quote him, he said, "I think it's an offshoot of the issue management problem that the Trudeau government faces with an excise tax that is ill-conceived." Eek. He said, in a certain sense, at all levels in Ottawa, they recognize the dilemma they have, which is that a very large portion of the cannabis CRA license holders can't keep up with their bills. While we hope that recognition on the excise debt problem is going to lead to real action to fix the excise, rather than just words that we've all heard so far.
Bum, bum,
In the meantime, we are faced with a gnarly case of collection. he said no one is profitable. Also, love that he used the term gnarly.
No one is profitable.
I
Our
agree.
next news story. The Canadian government weighed up a hefty $1.5 billion in cannabis tax profit. Woo! What?
According to recent released data by Statistics Canada for the financial year ending in March 2022, a total net income from the province owned cannabis businesses plus total taxes and other revenue equaled 1.55 billion Canadian dollars.
So private businesses say that they're struggling to stay afloat with this excessive taxation as the regulated cannabis industry adds billions of dollars to the government's coffers.
I'm just saying, like, maybe if we took a little bit of our last news story and mingled it with this one, guys. But that'd be my opinion, wouldn't it?
So yeah, about 3/4 of the excise taxes are applied to federal government on cannabis sales, and they're shared with the provinces and territories.
So Stat Canada says provincial cannabis authorities or wholesalers harvested 3.1 billion in sales. Cannabis authorities also profited 332.3 million in other tax revenue from cannabis sales, where HST 236 mil, GST another 110 million, PST another 110 million, and other territory revenue was over 9.8 mil, guys.
So if we were wondering where the money is in cannabis, we found it, ladies and gentlemen. We found it. So yeah, our next news story is quite interesting. We're just putting that there. Yeah. Mislabeling is deemed to be the most common recall for cannabis products. So
since 2018, though, there's only been 42 recalls
since legalization.
So that's not a lot considering if you look at other industries with recalls. And when it comes down to it, most of these recalls weren't even like, there's a couple with like contamination or a leaky package. Stuff happens. But the majority were for a mundane issue with the labeling. Something on the label wasn't right.
Yeah, so 69% of them involved labeling problems, according to Health Canada on the recall database. As we know, recalls for even minor issues can damage reputations like dramatically of companies and the regulated industry as a whole.
And this is coming after, labeling has already been under scrutiny. You're allowed to have that little bit of a window when it comes to your percentages. And that's been on the radar for the last couple months. People have been talking about that. So, but this was like they missed a word in the safety.
Yeah, so
blurb.
A labeling error that could lead to a recall would include not printing the mandatory warning message, a typo, and one of the cannabinoid was incorrectly listed as another, unlabeling containers inside properly labeled exterior packaging, and incorrect description of products used. So in this story, what I found interesting was that the companies that had these recalls happen explained that it's just human error because everything has to be done by hand. They just don't have the money or the resources to come up with the programs to do all of these things. So there is room for human error, and they asked for a little bit of a guidance or leniency on how to avoid recalls.
Perfect. Well, we're going to skeetle right through because we're excited for our guests.
It's our fastest news segment ever.
Right? Let's move into tourism.
We went through that so fast.
All right. Are you ready for this one?
Bum, bum, bum.
This is so cute. All right. So we have Trip and Paint, guys.
Ooh, la.
Vancouver, if you have nothing to do, June 3rd. Pacific Arts Market from 7:30 to 9:30 is putting on a Trip and Paint. So it's guided painting, as well as, you're encouraged to bring your own cannabis.
This is exciting. I love getting creative. Love, love, love. And obviously, Grow Up Sunday. It's coming. There we are. We'll
May
be speaking.
28th to the 30th. If you haven't got your tickets, you can still get tickets. They're looking for volunteers.
Mm-hmm. So we'll be speaking in the tourism conversations happening in the VIP stage on Sunday. There are so many speakers, so many cool perspectives that I think will be really valuable for anybody to take a look at.
Mhm.
So if you're in the area in Edmonton, get your tickets. Come check it out. Come visit with us. We'll be in the consumption lounge.
We're going to talk about it
A
more
lot.
in a minute because our friends will also be there.
Bum, bum, bum.
But also, Lyft is coming up in
Mhm.
Toronto, June 1st to 3rd. There's so many exciting things going on, guys.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to hunt that hard anymore.
Yep.
I'm loving it. And I'm so excited to talk about it on the tourism panel. All right, we are going to skittle bop into a quick little commercial break, and then we'll be back with our guests.
Bum, bum, bum.
Attention, Western Canada! Why can't the rest of Canada come? Okay, you're right. Attention, all of Canada! Are you looking for something fun to do this summer? Lunch and Beans is hosting a camp out for the Canada community. Delicious food, awesome people, and live music. You guys, we have the best Alberta bands lined up for you. High vibe yoga, guided meditation, sound baths, lit nature trails, and so much more. And bring your guitar because obviously we're jamming later. Spaces are limited. Get over to campcanada.ca. I'm not talking walk, I'm talking run! See you there!
Can you hear us? You
Bum,
can
bum,
definitely
bum.
hear us. All right, so we have lovely guests with us here in person. This is Chanttelle and Brian Rusk of Into the Weeds.
Bum, bum, bum. There's so many projects that they work on so passionately, but we got the opportunity to meet them in line at the airport. Quick wave at 3 a.m. on our way to Can Expo. And here we are again, a week before event. I'm super excited for it. So could you guys tell our viewers kind of how'd you get into the cannabis industry? How did you join us in this lovely travel?
Well, if we rewind all the way back, Chanttelle was having some medical problems from a car accident. I'm sure you've heard the story 100 times.
But they haven't, so why don't you tell us the story?
Right, but it's similar. Everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people have a similar experience where there's some sort of catalyst, and then maybe some pharmaceutical medications that are not really. Maybe they work at first, but then they stop really working as much. So then there was a doctor that said, "Why don't you try cannabis?" So she did, and it worked great.
Mm.
A doctor?
A neurologist.
A neurologist.
A neurologist is the one that got me all of the
Wow.
Yeah.
So was this at a point like you tried a lot of things and you weren't seeing the benefits? Were the side effects too much? Or was it just like, hey guys, you know what?
Worked for a period of time, but I think when it starts like not helping your quality of life and starts attacking or giving you more symptoms, then it's not helping you live your best life.
Yeah.
So that I'm looking for something long term.
Right.
So what can help my current system and aid it to do what it needs to do so that I have quality of life. And cannabis kind of mixed with what I had going on internally and with everything going on in my body, and it worked.
Nice.
Sure. And then we would find something that would work, and then it wasn't available again. Or
Right.
was super expensive or hard to find.
And was this
It's about
pre-legalization
$5,000.
or post-legalization?
It was like around that 2018 time frame,
Okay.
17.
plus or minus a couple of years.
Yeah, okay. So the dispensaries back then, limited access.
Right.
especially to something of medicinal quality. I find in the very beginning that was something that was hard to find.
Well, even on the medicinal market, right? Like you could sign up for one at the beginning and then they opened it up and you could have 2 LPs, but you were kind of limited to what they were growing.
Well,
Right.
they only had one prescription too. So you can
Right.
maybe split it between 2 companies, but also if you didn't order it in time and you were left without, then I was going to the rec store to
Right.
fill that. So then Brian was like, I need to grow because we're spending about $5,000 a month on
Right.
CBD because the amount that you're supposed to take to
It's
actually,
a lot.
It's a lot. It's
Mhm.
not just 1 milligram or 1 milliliter a day.
Mhm.
It's based off your body weight.
Right.
So then Brian started growing and he threw himself into like the actual studies and the research and CBG and CBD and THC. And then we figured out like what worked for background pain and then what worked for actual treatment. And yeah.
And did you grow before, or was this brand new?
15-year-old Brian.
On and off. Allegedly.
Try to keep the plant alive.
Yeah, nothing serious.
For legal
Until
purposes,
that's really,
no.
yeah.
He did
Well,
have
that's cool.
solo cup. It is.
And did it take you time to kind of get the hang of it, or
Oh,
was
yeah.
it something you just
Yeah,
picked
well,
up?
I mean, pretty much right from the beginning, the quality was good, but there was like nothing there, right? So it was always a problem of yield, which is, I mean, that's fine. If the
Yield.
product's good and there's just not that much of it, I'm still fine with that.
Mhm.
If the product we put out is great, but there's not enough for us to make money, I mean, it sucks, but I'd rather that than the opposite, right? So
Yeah.
I love that you put your passion into it, and it's not about the money, it's about having medication for your wife readily available.
He
right.
tested too. So like when we first started, he tested out different lights, different cuttings, different strains, what worked the best for me. And we tested different lights to see like what kind of terpenes, and that's kind of how we got into the lighting thing. But everything, like how is it in soil? Like how is it
So-
grown? Like extractions? Like
So
what is
do
the
you-
best extraction?
The lighting thing.
Mhm.
Tell our viewers.
So when we decided after he started treating me and like helping me with my health, we decided, okay, we can do this professionally, like maybe. So we found the spots, and then Brian grew and more, and then our license at home kept on getting bigger. So then we were like, okay, so if we're gonna actually do this for business, we have to start testing prototypes. So he tested soil, he tested nutrients, he tested lights, and then tested the same cutting under different lights to see what the best products. So I was kind of the guinea pig for a few years, but that's how I decided that I loved HLG.
Yeah.
It was just, I preferred the smoke, I preferred the terpene profile. We got terpenes from terpene profiles from cuttings we had for years.
Wow.
So like
Yeah,
right from a blueberry muffin that I had the cutting for probably like
That was really
3
cool.
years.
Yeah, there was new flavors coming out on top of what was already there. Yeah, it was really cool. And then on top of that, the weight and the density and the
Yeah.
frost, it was,
Nice.
The frost.
it's better in
Yeah.
every way. Yeah.
I make RSO, so the frost.
But it also, like, they don't run hot like other lights, so you don't have the issue in the summer like other facilities.
Definitely a lot less HVAC to deal with. Yeah.
I say often boldly that Alberta has the best indoor growers in the world, because we can keep our grows alive when the temperature swings from minus 40, minus 50 this year to plus 40 in the summer, and we have to keep a level and stable environment. So I deemed all Albertans the best. Oh yeah. The prairie provinces will include them, but Alberta's definitely on top there. So
Totally agree.
Not to be
Totally
biased.
agree.
that's something that I like to throw out there to the universe quite often.
It's
So.
nice to go to the flower room at minus 50.
It's just
Oh, yeah.
tropical in there.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I used to work outside, and now it's 80 degrees all winter.
Yeah,
So
that's
So
nice.
that's
Yeah,
nice.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not freezing
So you guys did a micro, like you were doing medicinal grow before.
with your
Now
ACM,
you
yeah.
have a micro license. You guys are a licensed producer. So that's a huge jump and a very costly one. So what made you guys decide to really go for that jump?
Well, combination of things. I mean, the ACMPR was getting, not huge, but there was, maybe a family member or a friend that, they kind of had ailments, and it was getting a little bit bigger by itself too. And and we kind of had an opportunity where we said, well, we can do something. We might as well do this.
Mhm.
And I was working out of town at that time, and it was kind of tough. You know, it wasn't a very good balance. So this was a way for me to come home and to share, you know, our passion for the plant with
Mhm.
people that we, you know and love.
I love that.
Yeah, at that time, the quality on the market was hit and miss too. So it was like, okay, we're consistently producing, maybe not a ton, but it's pretty good.
Mhm.
So I think we will be able to sell. I mean, the prices then were a lot higher than now, but
That's, I think, something that the legal market took for granted in the very beginning was consistency. People were just trying to get it out there because there wasn't things available. And then now people are really, really sticking to their brands that they know are going to be good time and time again.
Mhm.
And so it's really just kind of like creating these like channels in the market now, and people that you know and people that are kind of like,
Yeah.
maybe it'll be good, maybe it's not.
Right.
But consistency, I'd say, is the most important thing in the legal market, especially.
You
When
can
you go
tell
to a store, you should be able to know confidently that you're going to buy a good product, because
Absolutely.
that's why it's there.
You can tell, yeah.
Well, and there's nothing worse than falling in love with it and then going back on the next batch and it's just not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that was our exact problem at first, right?
Yeah.
Back in 18 or 17 or whatever it was with the, I think it was with the medical side. You know, we would find something that would work,
Mhm.
and then the next time it wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's
You know.
out of stock.
Right.
I can't get
Mhm.
access to it.
So then it just got a little bit bigger, and you guys just decided,
Yeah, the
like,
stars.
fuck it, let's do it.
Right.
Well-
Yeah, kind of, there was a point where we just jumped in, but yeah, the stars kind of aligned. I mean, an opportunity presented itself,
Mhm.
and we said, well, it's either we jump now or we lead boring lives forever, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Here we
I
are,
love
not boring.
They also told me too, like when they told me I couldn't work. So they had told me like you cannot work, and I had settled my car accident, and he was like, I need him home because my body at the time, I was using a walker, so I'm not the same that I was 5 years ago, but we've gone really far with this, like physically,
Mhm.
mentally, and then like with the businesses. Like I never thought that I would be like at this level.
Mhm.
And I think like
And that's
everything-
amazing because you were walking on concrete all weekend the other weekend,
Mhm.
like with nothing upstairs, across, and that's hard, even if you do have good legs and hips and backs.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we've come a long way, but I think like everything together, we were like, okay, so we can make something out of this. We can do something with this and make it long term, like, and help other people. And the only way that we can really change the world is by like doing little things. So we care about
Sharing
customer
your
service.
light.
We care about whole plant healing. We care about the product that we're putting out on the market.
Mhm.
Those little things might make
And
a
it
difference.
shows, like
Yeah.
any of your customers are always so cute and so happy. Like,
Mhm.
"Arr, we got
Love
you guys."
Yeah.
Okay, but you said like you tested a bunch of things when you started out. So what else changed over the course of your journey from what you thought at the beginning to where you are now? Like, are you still growing in soil?
Mhm.
Have you like completely changed your room from what you thought it would be at the beginning?
Well, we are still in soil. Yeah, so that originally started because I was out of town. So with the organic top dressing, you do it every 3 weeks, and I was home every 3 weeks. So that kind of worked out
Mhm.
perfect, right? And the quality was better than what we'd had before. So I said, well, okay, we'll stick with that. We've refined it. You know, it's not a every 3 weeks kind of thing, but it's still dry organic amendments. We've added, secret sauce here and there, but yeah, it's still very much stuck to that. I think
It's difficult scaling up too.
it is challenging scaling up, but like, I don't know, we haven't, the core process is pretty similar. I mean, the pruning is a little different. The airflow is harder in a big room. Little things about scaling up that have been challenging, but nothing major. It's mostly a water only system.
I think you learn from each crop too. So like, I think you get better and you keep learning. Okay, so like if I can get this uniformed and this streamlined, then everything becomes much easier. So we're always open to learning, and we listen to other micros.
Mhm.
We listen to the data. We listen to the consumers. We listen to the studies. We listen to the legislation and what's happening all the time, because like otherwise,
And that's so beautiful because you're not afraid to admit that there could be something that would work better for you out there, and that your way is just the best and it's law. Like, that's beautiful. A lot of people get stuck in their way and they're not willing to, you know, look at the other side of the book or see what's over there. Maybe that would work a little differently or better.
At the same time, we've had to kind of resist people saying you can't grow in soil, you'll never make it.
Yeah.
The only way you can grow in Alberta is in rock wool. We hear that all the time. You can't grow in soil here, you'll never make it. You won't pass microbials. Well, we're 3 crops in and we passed flying colors, right? So, but
Amazing.
yeah, but not being, I don't know, listening to them, but staying true to your
Your
values.
style.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
everybody's got a growing style.
You don't always have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes you just like gotta do little tweaks, a little bit of maintenance, you know, and it'll still get you there. You don't need a new car every single time. Yeah.
The brakes go. See ya.
I personally can't grow a thing. I have a cactus that's hanging in there for dear life.
That's why we all have a bestie that can grow.
But you can definitely tell when you buy a product off the shelf what was done by hand and with love,
Oh
and
yeah,
what was
100%.
done with a
For
machine
sure.
and for profit. And so I do appreciate that you guys take the time to do that stuff by hand, as mundane as trimming
sure.
may possibly be. I've never done it myself, but I imagine it's terrible.
Their grip strength is probably on point.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people call it trim jail. But no, and it definitely comes through in the entire experience. Even like, you know, like those are vibes that you're putting into the plant and people are consuming that into their spirit, and like, you know, having it be like from a malicious place, or maybe you're just having a bad day and you're working for this big company you don't even care for, and like, you know what I mean? So it's really nice that this is like, you know, nurtured from seed to smoke.
Mhm.
You have to, you have
Yeah.
to invest
For sure.
in everything. So like the people that you work with,
Yeah.
the cannabis that you work with, everything. Otherwise, yeah, it's like the only. I think this is like the only industry where like, if your bottom line is the dollar amount and you're only in it for profit, you probably aren't going to survive.
No.
It's probably one of the only industries right now in
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah, that's probably an advantage of us being so small too, is we can do everything the hard way,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Where if, you know, you get to a certain size where you'd have to have school buses of staff to try to do that, right?
Yeah,
And then-
maintain it. Yeah.
yeah,
So
so-
everything's
and you know, we don't have the economy of scale to bring our costs down, so that's, you know,
Yeah.
that's kind of our economic strategy, I guess, is we'll do it the hard way.
Now, I'm going to ask a profit question, and this obviously is on the spot here, but it just came to mind. Before you were a micro LP, did you have the same excise tax weights on you doing just a medicinal grow?
So, I mean, we were never really selling to patients before.
No.
So
You're
that
just
was,
fulfilling
yeah,
their
it was,
prescription.
we had a job, and it was
Okay,
just kind
well
of,
then for those who don't know how that works, so you have your ACMPR license, and then do you want to explain it?
Someone signs over their prescription and you
Right.
fill it.
so,
And then you grow their prescription for them within.
right.
With confidence.
So you're allowed to recoup your costs, basically, is my understanding of how the legislation is. I never really read through it much because we didn't get into that scale under that regime.
Yeah.
Right. So
Okay.
it was always more like, oh, you know, someone's over and they're having a hard time with this. Well, try this out. You know, it was never like
Yeah.
take 10 grams of this every week, and you know, it was never that.
Yeah.
Until we got here. So, but I mean, yeah, there was no money, so no stress about excise
Right.
taxes. Yeah, here, I mean, we're just cultivating here, so we don't directly deal with that. I mean, still, we had to give the CRA $5,000 for no apparent reason as a security. Well, as a security
Way to go,
deposit,
CRA.
right? Yeah.
A security deposit.
And they lost it.
Really?
Yeah, we sent it in with the application, and they said, "Well, you're lucky we found it. It was in the envelope with the rest of it." So
We also had to do our fingerprints 7 times.
Well, you federally
Each.
pay the cannabis.
Yeah.
7 times.
I'll
each.
try not
Oh
to.
my god.
Try not to
That's
gripe
not,
too much. but-
stigmatize it
Oh
all.
my god.
Well, they actually changed their policy right after we did that. We kind of wrote them a.
Because I knew it was in their hands.
Yeah,
he
he-
told me it was
so
in his hands.
The guy had it on his desk, and he said, "No, the address and the paperwork is wrong. I'm reading it here, and it's wrong. It's on your desk. you know.
I said you have chain of custody
So
and
then
you're rejecting
we
it.
went back and forth a few times, but like about a month later, after we threatened legal action, they changed their policy. So we call it the Into the Weeds Amendment.
Nice.
I love
Oh,
So
that's
that's
wicked.
that's our little piece. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not much, but it's something, right?
It's
But-
So you're out there changing the world,
Yeah.
one amendment at a time.
Every single person I think that gets their license has probably done something
Mhm.
for the future of this,
Yeah.
including, and not to mention the legacy
Right.
guys, but
Mhm.
like now currently every LP is probably
And probably on the Health Canada side too, like they've actually been fairly willing to receive feedback, I'll say.
Mhm.
Like, maybe a little slow to act on it, but
Yeah.
they're fairly willing to listen,
Yeah.
which is encouraging,
Yes.
I'll say. Yeah.
you
Yeah, I
almost
think-
need a liaison between all of the reporting agencies and all of the authoritative agencies. They need a
Yeah.
liaison between the CRA, between Health
Mhm.
Canada, between the AGLC.
Mhm.
That would be too easy though.
Yeah.
Yes. Another question.
Well, that's a
my
good suggestion,
Oh.
though, if anyone is watching. You know,
So the election's coming up, guys, and I don't care how you vote, just vote. However, I do have a meeting with Danielle Smith after the election to talk about cannabis tourism. But if there is there anything from your guys' perspective that if you could sit down and have coffee with the governing leader, what would you bring to the table, or what would you bring to their attention?
I would say we've proven
Mm-hmm.
that we can handle the responsibility that we currently have.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to give us more.
Mm-hmm.
we're ready to grow, Mom and
Yeah.
Dad.
Right.
We've told them that we can behave.
Yeah.
So to me, it should be okay. Then you release a little and you release a little, we find out because we are held to the same standards as if I was creating
Mm.
in a medical lab, like a medical inhaler.
Yeah.
And the confounds of that, as well as like not having control, or it's another license to be able to have control over my product once it hits market.
Right.
Mhm.
I have to go through another thing and another thing and another license and another,
Yeah.
Well,
just to have control over how my product will end up in the end, as well as like the AGLC SKUs. There's like,
Yeah.
it's all, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
disheartening
Yeah.
because, you know, these big corporations who they haven't, you know, come from legacy or their heart isn't in it. There's like, yeah, a little business adventure, and they can just throw money at it. Whereas there's people who have their heart and their soul and their passion, and they're trying to make a difference in the world. And it's hoop after hoop after hoop.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But we're
And you-
starting to see though that the little guys who are persevering, and it's hard. You know, there's like you were just saying, nobody's profitable, right?
Yeah.
I don't know very many people who are making money.
Mhm.
Maybe like a handful.
Yeah.
But they're the ones who are able to persevere are really doing well. You know, the big guys are doing acquisitions, and like there's no more Aurora branded product anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's.
So they're just buying up kind of small and medium sized outfits
Yeah.
and saying, yeah, now we're down.
And
Right.
that's our whole marketing strategy as Blunts and Beans is
The
the
little guy.
consumers are becoming more aware of not only what they're buying, but who they're supporting by buying those products. And people want to know why. Why are you growing cannabis? You know what I mean? Like your guys' story is powerful. It's passionate. It's something I can get behind.
Finding
When I go
value.
into the store, I'm going to be looking for it because I know that this is helping support, you know, this journey that you guys are on. And I think that once people kind of get to know who the names behind it, and so many, you know, LPs, they've come, they've gone. Some people just aren't surviving, you know, but the ones that are sticking through, if people know their story, like they're gonna keep going. We're gonna get there. It's just a matter of
They
sticking
need
it
to
out.
find value in the find value in the brands that are already like we're established.
Yeah.
We have this, find value and get invested in our story and then market that.
Yes.
Instead of
Mhm.
rebranding it as some name or some white label,
Mhm.
confusing the customer.
Yeah.
Because they're not knowing,
'Cause they're
because there's
looking
two
for
names
you.
on the label.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
and you're right, like people are becoming educated.
Mhm.
They're like, what? I'm not buying what I'm actually buying.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought
Yeah.
that if it was in a container labeled such XYZ grow, that they grew it.
Yeah.
I thought they grew it. I
Yeah.
thought that was something they
Yeah.
put on market.
Almost
Not
net-
true.
Almost net-
And don't
yeah.
get me wrong, I love the processors because without them,
Yeah.
but there has to be a married relationship
Mhm.
where you want to help each other and that you want to get invested with each other and work collaboratively to survive.
Yeah, there's challenges on that side too, though, right? Like it's not easy for anyone.
No.
So they're doing what they can. You know, I mean, there's good players and bad players, but most of them are pretty great. That
That's
we've
it.
met.
Any
That
industry.
we've met and dealt with.
But another beautiful thing, like on that topic, that we have seen with these micro grows, because you know you guys are always considered agriculture. They always want to lump you over there, and then everyone looked at it and was like, okay, well now we have the weed pool and like you know the craft micro growers, and they're coming together just like when we sell our wheat as little farmers together.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's very
And I love that. I
It's a
love
farm
that
gate.
aspect.
The challenging part of that is that the corporate people consider it agriculture, and the agriculture people consider it manufacturing, and the manufacturing people consider it something else. So we're kind of
You,
in
it
limbo,
is its,
where-
but it is its own industry. We just have to get to that
Mhm.
point.
Mhm. Yeah, it creates its own lane, definitely.
right,
Mhm.
with no banks and no
Yeah.
Because
loans.
we were even talking
No,
about
that's
that the other day. You
Yeah, we're
don't
getting there.
I'll start going on.
Oh gosh,
But
are we
they,
at grinds my beans yet? I'm
they
not sure.
thought they could do that because you know you don't say alcohol tourism like you
Yes.
would cannabis tourism. Just like you're growing a plant, farmer's growing weed, this farmer's growing canola.
Right.
You're all growing a plant,
Yeah.
you know. So that I think that's kind of where their mindset was, and
Mhm.
yeah, it was closed, but we have room for growth, and if we just keep highlighting
Mhm.
some areas, we're like, hey guys,
Yeah.
Right.
this
Yeah.
is my beige flag.
Yeah, that got me fired up yesterday. I was so fired up over that because I just realized I was driving and I just realized, like, wait a minute, I've never heard of alcohol tourism. I've never heard anybody specify that this tourism is alcohol related.
Right.
It's
You know
just
what
a
I
bar
mean?
crawl.
So why do we have to fight tooth and nail to have cannabis tourism specified? It's not. It's just tourism.
Right.
Cannabis is legal. Tourism is legal. It should just be tourism
Yeah.
instead of specifying
Yeah.
cannabis tourism, because we don't specify for anything else. There's no health and wellness tourism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that kind of thing is just crazy. Like I
Well,
think that it's just too many.
Right.
There's too many hoops that are unnecessary
It's-
because they're not helping the responsible portion of it. Has nothing to do with responsibility or public, safety. It's more just about like, okay, if you guys want it that bad, that's cool. Here's all the hoops to jump. Let's see who can jump them. And then it's just a race to the finish line of tourism
Mhm.
that's already here.
Right. Or it should just be
So-
maybe the consumption
Exactly.
zoning or something is all they
Yeah.
should be, right? That's all
Yes.
it should. You know, just as like you were just
Allowance.
talking about drinking in parks. You
Yeah.
know, well, if you can smoke weed in those parks, you should be able to do tourism where you smoke weed,
Exactly.
right? It's a
And it's like
You
Saskatchewan
smell 10
just
feet from
opened
the
the door for that. They just allowed public consumption. You know what I mean?
yeah.
The door's open. Are we jumping
Yeah.
through it or not? Like
well,
that's
no,
kinda
they
like
said
the
like
situation.
we're gonna set a really defined
Mhm.
line when it comes up, but
Mhm.
until then, like we'll let you be adults,
Mhm.
and then when something does get out of hand, just like most health and safety policies, then we're gonna start setting a standard there and there, because
Mhm.
that's how most of these things come up. Is someone did something down
Yeah.
the road, and they're like, beep.
That's how a policy comes
Yeah.
into effect.
Yeah.
So if enough people complain, I feel like policies will come into effect. But we have to give them feedback, and they're asking
Yeah.
for feedback.
But it's every single angle of the cannabis industry. It's the people
Yes.
that are growing the plants, the people that are processing it, the people that are selling it, the people you know what I mean? Every single angle has things that they need to change, and everybody's slowly moving towards it. But because we're so spread out in all these different areas,
Mhm.
we're not seeing fast growth. We're not seeing the changes for the growers right away. We're not seeing the changes for the tourism right away because the government's focused on us all as a whole, but there's so many different
Right.
spinning plates when it comes to cannabis.
I feel like they need to give more direction too, like set out the standards, send out the ministerial orders, tell everyone to get on the same page. Like we've been legal since 2017 or 18,
I love a good policy.
and the banks are still closing bank accounts.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
And
to this day.
and the government is releasing funding for cannabis because that's their initiative, and they're choosing not to spend it. How is that allowed?
Well, even you guys, this is your heart, your soul.
Mhm.
You're within regulation, you're within guidelines from federal all the way down to municipality. And it would literally take one phone call for them to be up in here in your business like, oh, I don't know anymore. Someone's like giving us pressure versus the company next door. They'd be like, oh yeah, well, they're within their guidelines, so there's nothing we can really do.
Mhm.
And that's sad, and that definitely needs to change, because if you're fitting within the guidelines, it shouldn't be just a phone call because someone was having a bad day and projecting on your business.
Right.
Or they smell
Well,
also.
Yeah, and the local and federal and provincial rules sometimes conflict. Like in our in our
100%.
county, it's illegal for me to have an outdoor grow.
Mhm.
Not allowed. Period.
Mhm.
Well, but I am allowed to have an outdoor grow. No, not here. Right, and that sort of thing is not that it would be challenging to do that here anyways.
Yes,
But you know,
it'd be nice to have the option to
A lot.
have a little patch. You know, you guys live rurally.
Mhm.
You could have your
Even-
summer grow.
right, it's a lot more affordable too. You just put up a fence and a little. Your processing building has to be inside, but basically a garage that's
Yeah.
appropriately sealed. Right, you can start that up for 100,000.
Mhm.
You know, where an indoor probably 10 times that. You know,
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
get started, and you know, it's a lot of money,
It is.
right?
Yeah.
So
But people's perspectives of cannabis are changing. I'm starting to see that a lot. Like even just with our high tea party, like the venue was very hesitant. They were
Mhm.
not.
Super worried.
They were super worried. When I picked up the keys, their faces were like, "What the heck
Sweating.
did I
We
get
shouldn't have
myself
done this.
into? I don't know about this. Okay, I just mopped this entire floor. Like, who are you gonna have in here?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, no, don't worry." And we just kept it real chill. And then after the event, they're like sharing pictures with the town folk, like
Right.
raving about how amazing and beautiful it was, and all these things. So it's just taking like, slowly as we keep moving
Prove
forward,
ourselves.
people are changing their perspectives
And their views.
yeah.
Of
And
what
like,
a consumer looks like, because that was
Mhm.
definitely a thing. Like there was a stigmatized view of
Mhm.
what these consumers were going to be coming through that door.
mhm.
And every time someone walked through the door, you could see them just like flabbergasted, like, wow, this is just a regular everyday human. You never know that they consume cannabis.
Yeah.
Of course you don't. They're just nourishing their systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just loving on
But even
ourselves.
Red Deer
Yeah.
County, like our county that we're in, was very hesitant when we started Camp Canna. Like it was like a eek, what are you guys doing? And they checked in on us like so many times leading up to the event. We had to
During
like
the
constantly push them back at AGLC, like, hey, we're working with AGLC. We are within frame, like we're within guidelines. The location's properly zoned for this. Like, what's the problem? Everything's good. Okay, great. But now when I call Red Deer County, like a year later after we had the event, there was no incidents and everything was great. Now they're just like a lot more open to talking about, as the cannabis legal landscape changes, where Red Deer County fits into that.
Yeah, and where they'd like to be
Slowly,
their position.
and like slowly, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And once one municipality sets it, every
It's
other
a
one
standard.
Sure.
can
Well,
copy.
and it's like Abby Roach said, right? You just have to like tiki over the line and then tiki 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 right back. And then just tiki.
I don't believe she said it exactly like that.
Yeah,
I believe
she's
it was
you-
like
it's a
I
firm
think if
over
you're
the
gonna
line.
quote someone, you can't add sound effects. But
All right, you're right. She
I think it was one
it's gonna
toe.
be 2 inches over the
Oh, 2
line
inches.
or 2 toes, and then you come back.
Well,
You don't push it. You don't just go running over
Right.
the line like
Yeah.
full bore. No,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
there's grace involved for sure.
And that's always how cannabis has kind of moved forward, right? It was
Yeah.
a bunch of people going right up to that line, maybe not over it, maybe some went over it, but
Dance.
yeah, close to right on the line, right? And then, they would say, hey, like, why can't I grow my own medicine if there's valid medical benefits? Okay, court case, it's allowed. Okay, well, why am I limited to this much? I need more for my ailments. Court
Mhm.
case, allowed.
Mhm.
It's all these people just, and
Keep
not
pushing it.
screaming, yelling, breaking
Not
things.
bad.
All you need is
Down
one
either.
precedent.
Right.
Just one precedent.
Well-
That's all you need. So if one municipality does it, you can make an application in another municipality, and then that municipality will contact that municipality and be like, what's your policy and
Sure.
procedure? And then it just keeps going.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why
It's
I
a wave,
also
a ripple
boldly
effect.
say that Alberta is the key to this whole thing because Alberta has a lot less paperwork involved. To change any sort of legislation policy, Alberta is the furthest ahead for timeline out of all of them. So the second Alberta legalizes public consumption or makes it easier for all the areas of the cannabis industry or uses our brand new Sovereignty Act to axe the excise taxes altogether, Danielle, if you're listening. But you know what I mean? Like we can do that and we can do it a lot more efficiently and effectively than any other province. So I do believe that Alberta is the key to setting the precedent to what the cannabis industry should have been. And then all the other provinces can follow suit once there's a precedent in place.
And it's nice to see that, you know, no matter who really gets elected right now in the provincial election, they are all looking at that with a fine-tooth comb, seeing where they could make some changes to help. So that is really beautiful to see.
It is.
Before we like talk all afternoon, because I'm sure we could, you guys are also going to be at Grow Up.
Absolutely.
Okay, so where can we find you for those of us attending, loving upon it?
We'll be in booth 501 with our lighting company, High Far Lights, and Into the Weeds. Combo booth.
Into the Weeds also is one of just 14 out of so many, wasn't there?
75.
75 people who entered their cannabis to compete, and you guys got picked.
Right.
Yay!
Yeah, so those packs are actually going for sale this week. So it's on the pick list at AGLC right now.
Nice.
And probably
So
starting
Thursday
So
Thursday,
we're going
Friday
to
this
get
week.
one of those.
I'm in line. I'll be
So
in
if
line
you're-
on Thursday.
If you're out shopping Thursday, make sure
tomorrow.
you check it out.
I don't know if anyone knows, but this was like Brian's first crop, so it's kind of a big deal because we didn't think that we were going to be able to purchase our product in a store. So this is a big deal for us.
Right.
So to be
And
able
your
to
name's
see our
on it.
name on a thing
Yeah.
and that we can buy it, it's a
Oh
great-
my gosh. We will
It's
be
life-changing,
in line.
yeah.
So if you're out there, send
Yeah.
them some love, a little picture of them out there in the wild.
And if anyone smokes it and love it, we want to hear about it.
If you don't love it too, we need to hear that.
Yeah,
also.
we need to hear that.
Please also tell us that.
Yeah.
Honest
Or
with
what we
you.
could do better.
I heard a couple people have smoked their way through it, and there's some that really stood out. So I'm excited. I'm gonna be in line on Thursday.
There's
Yeah,
a lot of
absolutely.
great companies that are on that list.
9:55 a.m.
Can't really
pulling
go
up.
wrong.
Yeah,
For sure. Yeah, our grower Zach, we kind of cherry picked him out of the dispensary in town.
Yeah.
So he's going to kind of go full circle to the one that he worked at and buy it there and say, I grew this. So that's pretty cool, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
This is me, guys.
Yeah.
And that feels good too,
Yeah.
definitely. Seeing yourself move up in the industry as you go. I feel like budtenders are often overlooked by their
Yes.
knowledge that they have to have. I could not imagine. Back in the day, a past life of mine, I was a bartender and I was quite good at it. However,
You are.
the alcohol that you have to learn to do drinks is so similar. It's all the same. You know what I mean? Like it's all in one. It doesn't matter if you use Jack Daniels or whatever. Like to make a drink, you can
You want
use
high
anything.
end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's top shelf, there's low shelf. But for cannabis, it's like,
Oh, yeah.
how do you even? It's not a cocktail you're making. It's,
You got to be up
it's a
on your
feeling
game
you're
and
providing.
smoke the
it's
menu.
a, you know,
You gotta do your research.
that
Yeah.
happens.
That's what I
I'm
told
just
Brian
saying.
when I was going to the store every day. I'm doing market research.
I would kill it. We've done a couple pop-ups, and whenever they get busy, I'm just like, "Don't worry, guys, I got this. I've sampled your menu. Let's go."
Yeah.
Let me just pull out my little card, and here we are. All right, but if anyone wants to check you guys out after, where can they find you?
We're on Instagram with High Car Lights, Lady Limonene, who is now producing the
Tell
Yes, tell the world!
Stop.
Stop it right now. Tell the
Okay.
world.
Okay.
New to Canada. This is big, guys.
The happiest hour.
It's a terpene infused shot that
Yes.
you can take. It's botanical.
Mhm. Okay, and can I give my review because I've
Yes,
also
please.
sampled the
I'm
whole
obsessed.
menu. Now the wake one, I gave it to a 21-year-old neighbor of mine, and she was so buzzed. She loved it. She doesn't do coffee or anything like that.
Yeah.
She doesn't have children or anything yet, you know.
Yeah, she doesn't
She
need
doesn't
to.
understand it's a life force. But she was super. She normally just smokes a doobie and goes to sleep, and she was able to actually we went for a walk Like she was energized
Have
enough to
pep in her
actually
step,
like
like,
do stuff. And the Intensify one for me. So I drank the Intensify one. I ate a 50 milligram edible, and normally that'll get me okay, but like I'm not like laid out or anything. I went for the walk. I come back from the walk. I stopped walking. I was like, whoa, whoa, I need to sit down. Like it was insane.
I love
crazy
that
to
one
me.
too, though, because the one morning I didn't have time to wake and bake, like heading out. I mean, maybe my system just runs a little higher than the average polar bear, but I just took the Intensify one on my way out the door, and by the time I got to where I was going, I didn't realize, that I skipped my morning medication because I was running behind. So that for me was really nice. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, ooh.
And they don't taste bad. I'm not
No.
a juice person. I'm not a pop person.
No.
I drink strictly water.
I love
You know?
Bliss too, and sleep.
Yes.
I take sleep before bed.
Bliss
So.
is really nice.
Yeah.
Bliss is like when
Like
you're
you
having
said,
an
Bliss.
anxiety attack, like take a Bliss.
Or
Can
calm.
you
smoke a
imagine it
doobie.
during like the sound bath?
Oh my god.
I think as an education on the terpenes,
Mhm.
also in cannabis, that one will be a great one to be able to
Yeah.
marry
because
together.
also because let's just say the traditional market doesn't understand that terpenes are in everything.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's everything.
It was available quite readily, like on some big box stores. We're not going to name any names. And then they pulled it down just because of the word terpene.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of wild to me. Like, you're going to
But a
pull your
terpene is a
trees,
scent molecule.
your cedar beard oil.
So are
Right.
you removing essential oils?
I think there was a competitor in the space, kind of a bad actor that was maybe too high of a dose. Because like anything, I mean, at a inappropriate dosage, terpenes can be bad for you too.
Yeah.
And
Right,
this is
so there
approved
was-
by the FDA.
Yeah, there was
They've
something
gone
like that
through-
happening.
yeah.
That goes right back to Chef Jordan Wagman.
Yeah,
and-
where if somebody, like this is where the cannabis industry needs to be take this so seriously, is that when somebody has a bad experience with cannabis, we have lost them forever.
Right.
Forever.
Mhm.
They're never coming
It's
back.
not like
They'll
when you
never
have a
change
bad
their
drinking
mind.
experience. You're like, oh, this is a ride that one time, guys. We're gonna be with Jim.
Yeah,
I'm never drinking again.
Wednesday, the girls call, yeah, okay, wine night, whatever.
I have amnesia.
Exactly. So, but with cannabis, it's not like that.
No.
And so, especially as the legal landscape changes and more things, maybe perhaps you have, tasting tours here.
But
maybe
even
that's
that-
something that we can do. But it's something we have to take so seriously, because if somebody gives a bad experience by having the improper dosage
Yeah.
or providing a, not safe
Or another
product.
avenue.
Mhm.
Like
Yes.
instead
Education.
of smoking, maybe like tinctures, maybe
Yes.
like oil, maybe like there's
Exactly.
some hash.
But
like there's some-
without the ability to get that education out there, a lot of people don't know, like, hey, this strain may just not be for you at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Or,
Very true.
you're getting headaches. Let's try something more on the CBD side. Obviously, the THC is just a little too much for you.
Right.
No
Or to
psychoactive.
learn what to do if you've consumed too much.
Mhm.
My neighbor, I gave
CBD.
him a gummy. It was a little too much for him. I told him to eat one. He ate two. You know?
They always gotta eat.
Next thing you
Never
know,
ate two of
next thing
Alexis's
you know, he
gummies.
thought he was hallucinating. I was like, it was just weed. Like, calm down. It's okay. He's like, I didn't know what to do. He worked himself up into a panic, which
Because
you
you
can
get
do
in
with
your
cannabis
head, yeah.
so easily. And he ended up throwing up. He was like a mess. And I was like, why didn't you drink some orange juice? And he had no idea. He had no idea
Or
that there
CBD,
was
take
things
some
that you
CBD.
could do. Take
Yeah.
CBD, drink some orange juice.
Yeah.
So
Have a cold
munchie.
shower, like just little things like that to get your mind off of the panic,
Yeah.
So you
and
can
that
enjoy the
education is so important, especially with seniors who are trying it for the first time. What if they take too much?
Yes.
What do we do now?
Dear seniors,
Right.
please try your cannabis before bedtime.
Yes.
Yes. Sleep through it.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or maybe start with, like you said, the alternative
The 1
cannabinoids that's coming. I think that's a big thing kind of the
Yeah.
next 4 or 5 years here. So
Mhm.
maybe start with CBG or CBD
Well,
or any of those other ones.
And
right?
we're seeing
Yeah.
a lot more research, not only with cannabinoids, but also with like psilocybin
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
how that's affecting our connections in our brain. So
The healing with those
Yeah.
types of treatment would
Mhm.
be No
It's
research.
phenomenal.
like
super
Wow.
forward thinking, and I love that Alberta's in the forefront of this too. We have a clinic, a psilocybin therapy clinic in Calgary that even offers like ketamine therapy, DMT, like they got it all in there, which is so like.
Right.
But they,
That's-
Call
forward
them and we get
thinking.
on.
but it is like a medical setting. You know,
Yeah.
it's not rogue. You go into an office building just like you're at the
And it's
chiropractor or
guided.
the neurologist,
Yeah.
and they stay with you and they
Right.
like tuck you
And
in and
is
cuddle
that-
you and make
It's
sure
put on
you're
by
okay.
a psychologist.
Yeah.
So
Is that
And they have to
facility,
be registered.
is it still only for people in hospice though? A couple
it's
years
for
ago it
people
was.
with PTSD.
Oh,
They've
okay.
opened it up now.
PTSD.
Okay.
You can go, and then and depression, those kinds of things, PTSD and depression. And I think this is great because honestly, like we need an alternative therapy. What we have isn't working,
Right.
obviously.
Well,
So
Heal
let's
people
figure
for
out
real.
what's going
Yeah.
on.
the longer it's open, the more research they're going to be able to do with
Mhm.
this and provide to everyone else, which is also a beautiful thing. So we don't have to look to, you know, our neighboring countries
Mhm.
who are behind us, but surpassing us in other areas already.
Mhm.
Yeah. You look at what they're doing in Oregon, it's pretty amazing. They've got like, yeah, it's sort of like what you're talking about, that one clinic, they've got a whole framework
Yeah.
for that, right?
Mhm.
So you register for these places, you go in, I believe it's 2 people stay with you, like a medical professional and kind of like a
And
guide
yeah.
almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty,
That's cool.
yeah.
Nice.
This music is making me bad vibes. I got good vibe music.
Perfect. Well, that being said, should we head into our mindful moment of the day? An awkward reading by Alexis.
We could head into our mindful moment. Hello. All right, you guys. It was so far away, and I'm so blind. So,
We had to move you closer.
without further
Come in.
ado, here is the
Our quote of the day. One day you will tell your story of how you overcame what you went through, and it will be someone else's survival guide. Bum, bum, bum. This is so true for everybody in the cannabis industry right now. Every single person, every person that's struggling, every 2/3 of the people that are behind on their excise taxes, every single person that can't legally open their business or operate their business or
I
have
think-
legislation protecting them in their business. Literally everybody. Your story is going to be the survival guide for the next generations that come up into this industry. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, and even if you just woke up today, you're probably amazing in someone's eyes,
Mhm.
and you haven't met all the people who are gonna love you. So shine your little light, my boos.
Bum, bum, bum.
And just remember to have the best day ever, as the happiest hour would say. Hope you're having the happiest day.
Bum, bum, bum,
Bye, guys.
Bye.